Hey guys, Jake Baynes here, and today I'm going to give you guys a look at how I get my tones with the brand new MixWave Electro-Harmonix Big Muff Pi. Let's take a look. So first things first, it's important to make sure that your amp tone is where it should be in order to accept a fuzz pedal. In this instance, I'm going to be using the MixWave 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive plugin. What I'm looking for in an amp tone when it comes to accepting a fuzz is something that's slightly overdriven and a little bit on the bright side. So it's going to sound something like this. You can see it's not too overdriven, right? Because remember, a fuzz pedal is a lot of overdrive, and it's a very fat sounding overdrive. So I don't want too much going on with the amp, or else it's going to be way too much, unless that's something you're looking for. Amp setting wise, if I was to go through these amp settings, you guys can see here, but I have the presence and the treble reasonably high, and I have the master and the lead master reasonably high because I'm trying to push those power tubes. Reverb's pretty low, and everything else across the board is set pretty neutral. So that's how I set up the amp. Now let's dive into this fuzz pedal where I'm going to show you each of the parameters, what they do, what they sound like. Let's take a look. Okay, so right out the box, you're going to get this Big Muff Pi, and it's going to look something like this. Everything's going to be set super neutral, and the pedal's going to be off. Remember, here's my dry guitar tone, right? This is just the 2-Rock. Now with everything set neutral, I'm going to turn this Big Muff Pi on, and we're going to hear what this sounds like set exactly straight out the box. Here we go. So like I said before, for those of you who don't have a lot of experience with fuzz pedals, it's huge. Fuzzes sound massive, right? It's really important to make sure that we have this fuzz before the amp. We don't want to have the fuzz afterwards. If you think about, if you were to set up your pedal board's going into the amp is not going into your pedal board, right? But when we take a look at this pedal, well, let's go through all these parameters and kind of figure out what everything does. So I always start with the tone knob, right? The tone knob is going to be, all right, I'm going to restart that one actually. Okay, so straight out the box, your Big Muff Pi is going to be set super neutral. And so just to give you a reference of what that sounds like, here is my dry guitar tone. It's just the 2-Rock. And now here is the Big Muff when I turn it on. You can see that this pedal sounds massive. Fuzzes are super intense and sound huge. They always bring a lot of saturation to the guitar tone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the tone knob, and I'm going to kind of run you guys through and sweep it up slowly to give you an idea of what it sounds like as it gets brighter and brighter. This is where I always start. So let's take a look at this. All right, so here's dry again. Now here's the pedal on. So I'm going to sweep this tone knob up brighter and brighter so you get an idea of what the sweep sounds like. Definitely getting brighter. There's a little bit more high end here. A little bit more defined. Sometimes I think of tone knobs as adding a little bit of overdrive. What's really happening is it's getting a little bit fizzier, which we can hear is a little bit more overdrive sometimes. So if you're ever looking for more drive, but adding more drive is not the answer, sometimes messing with the tone knob is the answer. So far we're at 7.8 here. Here's all the way up. Sounds wild. Where I like the tone knob personally is right around here, just as it starts to give us a little bit more definition. Now, what we can do is we can also roll the tone knob back and see as it makes it sound a lot more creamy, a lot less definition, but it gives us this kind of like exploding amp sound. So let's try that out and see what that sounds like. Here's all the way off. So that's what the tone knob sounds like as we turn it down. So I'm gonna set it back to where I like it, which is right in that area we saw before, which is just as the definition starts to come in. The next knob that I'm gonna mess with here is the sustain knob. Now sustain is gonna be for drive, overdrive, gain, whatever you wanna call it. In the fuzz world, we may see it listed as sustain. What I'm gonna do is, just like with the tone knob, I'm gonna sweep it all the way up, back, and then all the way down and back, so we have a good idea of what this knob does. Nice. Definitely getting more fuzz here. Very nice. And here it is all the way up. So cool. I'm gonna bring it back, just so we have a reference. Nice. All right, now I'm gonna sweep it in the other direction so we get an idea of what it sounds like when we kind of roll back on the Big Muff. Nice. Here it is, almost all the way off. So I think in this area, the Big Muff is more on the similar side of like an overdrive. We can really see this when I toggle the drive pedal on and off. We get an idea of what it sounds like when it just goes drive with the 2-rock back over to the Big Muff. It adds a little more and a little less when you take the drive pedal away. So this is a setting that you can use that'd be really great for if you just wanted a little bit more when it came to your tone, but you didn't want that exploding fuzz sound. So I'm gonna set this where I like it, which is right around here, all right, where we have a little bit more added, but we're not necessarily massively oversaturating the sound. All right, awesome. Now the last thing I'm gonna change on this pedal here, when it comes to the actual pedal, is the volume knob. Now what I want you to think about is this. So we have this Big Muff fuzz pedal going into our 2-rock. We have 2 drives happening at once right now. We have the overdrive that's coming from the Big Muff, and then we have the overdrive that's coming from the amp. The thing that's bridging the gap between those two things is the volume knob on this Big Muff. The more I turn the volume up on this fuzz pedal, it's slamming the front end of this amp. Now, like I said before, when I had this amp set up, I set it so that the lead master and the master knobs are turned up quite significantly. That way I'm getting the tubes to kind of oversaturate and break up. As I turn this Big Muff up, it's going to push those tubes even more, and it's going to give me more of that defined overdrive sound. All right, so let's take a listen to what that sounds like as I sweep this volume up on the Big Muff. Back again. And then here's all the way up. You can really hear it with all of the individual notes. That's kind of why I played some more of those. There's a lot more definition as I turn the volume up because again, like I said before, I'm slamming the front end of this 2-rock with this fuzz pedal. So where I usually like to keep this is ever so slightly turned up to right around 5.9. But if I wanted to toggle this volume back a bit, what ends up happening is you get a little bit less of that amp overdrive. So let's hear what that might sound like. So Big Muff back on again. I'm gonna roll it back. It's getting cleaner, right? Until right around here, maybe 0.60. Nice. So I'm gonna bring it back to where I like it, which is right around here. All right, so now I've shown you all the parameters of the Big Muff that are actually on the pedal. The last thing I want to show you is this dry/wet knob that you'll see at the bottom left of most MixWave pedals. There's one here on the overdrive, the green style overdrive for the 2-rock. What this does, to explain it in a simple way, I want you to think of dry as your guitar tone, just your guitar with nothing added to it. Wet is going to be any effect that you have. As you turn this knob up from dry to wet, what we're doing is we're adding more and more of this specific effect to the guitar tone. So if I set this all the way down so it's 100% dry, nothing happens. As I turn the dry knob up, it makes more of exactly what I set happen to the tone. Here we go. So for me, I like half of my tone affected by the fuzz pedal. It's really cool that this is a feature on these fuzz pedals, because when you typically have one of these on your pedal board, you don't just get that option. You can't just phase in how much of your guitar you want to have. So it's really nice that you can do this with these plugins here. So overall, when I set my tone, it's going to sound something like this. This is my favorite way to have it. Awesome. This thing sounds fantastic. So that's my run through of the brand new MixWave Electro-Harmonix Big Muff Pi and how I get my tones. I hope you guys enjoy your brand new fuzz pedal. See you guys soon. Thank you so much.